Hey everybody, my name is Yvonne Villarreal, a reporter here at the LA Times, and joining me today is Mindy Kaling, who plays the celebrity-obsessed, print-mixing OBGYN Mindy Lahiri on the Mindy Project. So much Mindy.
Yeah, by design,
Yeah.
I just want everyone to have to say my name over and over again. Those are good adjectives.
Yeah.
Celeb-obsessed, print...
Mixing.
What was it? Print mixing, yeah.
The way you mix prints is like a sight to behold. It's great. It's great.
Thank you.
I wanted to start off, I remember coming to your office ahead of the first season launch, and you didn't have your rom-com posters framed because you felt like it was a bad omen to do that. Has anything been framed yet?
Yes, so I have that very superstitious feeling that the minute you put, maybe this is an old comedy writer thing, you put something framed up on the wall or like a picture of your kids up on your desk, the show gets canceled.
Yeah.
So at the office, that was the sort of prevalent feeling. So we were in season 7 and every office was empty, like we were all refugees. And so I decided season 2, it's like, I want these posters up and I don't want them to look like a college dorm room for once. So we framed them and put them up. So
Nice. Good. Good to hear.
Yes.
I want to talk about breaking the season 2 finale, which, I mean, that finale had people like on the floor.
Writhing in pain.
Yes.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay. Yeah, well, thank you. I loved it.
Yeah, talk about, was it easy? Was it an easy story to break? And I mean, you sort of wrote the thing after, I assume, everyone threw out their ideas.
Yes, well, the finale, which is called Danny and Mindy, which one of my writers said could be the name of any episode of the show. But it's called Danny and Mindy. It is my favorite episode of the year, and it was really the idea of it. We wanted to do something very big. We wanted to do something really cinematic. We always try to do that, but this was like it was the last blowout. We knew we were going to come back, but we didn't know, and we had 3 months off, so we wanted to take something really ambitious that we had not seen like in a comedy show before, and we tried to do like really a mini movie with like secrets and lies and the farce that we love in our favorite like Nora Ephron movies, and put it into like one episode that also answered some questions about the Danny and Mindy relationship, which people had obviously gotten kind of attached to.
I was really upset that Danny only waited an hour before getting pizza.
Yes, we talked about that. He was claiming to be this big romantic, and then he waited for an hour. The top of the Empire State Building's cold though.
Yeah.
So. He also got hit by a car.
Yes.
Which from The Office I learned is like one of my favorite. It's like my guilty pleasure is seeing someone comically get hit by a car.
Was there a favorite moment of yours from that episode?
There's a scene between Chris and me, Chris Messina, who plays Danny Castellano, where we have it's in the ladies' bathroom, and he follows me into the ladies' bathroom, which is something I had not seen, and we have a fight. And the episode, I think, is super funny and has funny jokes in it, and this is not a funny scene. This is a scene where Mindy's explaining that she doesn't trust his feelings of love because she's been broken up by a man. I love that because I don't get to do stuff like that a lot, and for me to be on the brink of tears and for the character to finally be standing up for herself and not wanting to be treated poorly by men was so cool to get to do as an actor.
Right. Well, we saw her be vulnerable a few times this season, especially the first time, the time that where Danny sort of says, I don't want to do this, I don't want to hurt you, I don't want to be hurt. Talk about how your character has developed and seeing her reach this point.
I think one of the great things about getting renewed for another season is that you get more attached to the characters and you get to see them mature. And for Mindy, it's especially, she's so delusionally confident all the time, which is very fun to play, but what's becoming more satisfying to play for me as an actress is her vulnerability, because that ultimately is more relatable than a girl who just thinks she can get any guy, although that's what makes her character unique on television. And so I have, especially through Chris, who's such a good dramatic actor, been really challenged and had to see if, like, can I do this? You know, like, we didn't do a lot of that at the office, and I've loved the experience of doing it, and I've loved seeing it on camera. So that's been like the biggest change that the character's gone through in me as an actress.
Do you find that it's hard to watch a character develop when it's comedy, or is that an interesting challenge?
I find it enjoyable, and it comes from Steve Carell's character on The Office. Season 1 was actually, a big criticism was that it was too harsh, and he was too mean to everyone. And one of the great benefits of being on the air for more than one season is we got to see Steve's character get beaten down, and we got to see the other characters become attached to him, and he wasn't such a jerk. And so I find it really fun. It makes you love the characters more.
And you get sort of praise, and it's a fun element of the show, the physical comedy aspect. Was that something you early on knew you wanted to embrace? And how is it, like, are you sort of like in the writer's room when they pitch something like, I don't know if I want to fall off a beanbag, or I don't know if I want to like have Christmasina like above me in the personal training episode? Like how are you?
You're talking about our naked scene in the.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I like it because it's scary, but it's scary in a controlled environment where I'm the boss. So it's like it feels like it keeps work interesting and really fun all the time. So we do, we're a network show, so when we do nudity, it's not like nudity on a other show, but I think it's cool. Like I don't have a perfect body by any means, but like every other girl who looks like me, like have to be in a bathing suit sometimes, and it's really relatable and hyper frightening to have to do on camera. So I like that because it just makes me feel like I'm growing. And the physical comedy stuff is also tends to be the most fun to do. Like, it's weird. What's the most fun to watch almost always is the most fun to do. So I love doing it.
Do you have a favorite like moment for you with the physical comedy?
You mentioned in season 1, Mindy's trying to be cool with like a bunch of teenagers, so she sits in a beanbag chair. And I'm flopping around like a trout. Like it's the most like unattractive I've ever been, and kind of like breathing really heavily. But I mean, Chris Farley was to me the funniest SNL cast member ever. And so what he used to do, and he was so brave, and it was so funny. And I'm not comparing our talents, but I'm just saying, like, I thought that was so enjoyable to watch. And so
well, the shower scene too, that one was a good one.
Oh, into season 1, yes, contending with like a shower from hell. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was fun too.
Okay, let's take a question from the fans. We've gotten a lot of tweets, so let's try to get to them. Chrissy asks, how do you and your writers strike such a perfect balance between raunchy, no fear comedy, and so much tenderness and heart?
Oh, well, thank you, Chrissy.
Yes,
we were
Chrissy.
just trying to. That's nice that she said that. Well, I think it's because there's so many different sensibilities in my writer's room. We have Matt Warburton, who's our showrunner, who is from The Simpsons, and he's so precise with his jokes. They're so funny. And we have 2 30 Rock writers who, where, obviously that's an environment where like a carefully crafted joke is king. And then we have a couple people from The Office, and our sensibility is poignancy always in a script that's like dense with jokes. And so everyone just contributes a lot. I love raunchy stuff. We had the most. Last week was our first week back, and we had for the premiere one of the most spectacularly raunchy days in the room, which is so fun.
Can you give us a preview? Like, what was so raunchy?
Okay, there is like this literally makes it sound like it's like a raunchy cable show, but Mindy finds a thong, and which like a mysterious thong underwear at Danny's apartment.
Oh no!
And it sort of like it was so titillating to us because we're such nerds. We're like undersexed nerds, my entire staff. So we were like, oh, this is so fun, and we love pitching on. And that's actually the tone of the show, which is like all the characters on the show. Whether it's Adam Pally, who is so funny, Ed Weeks. Everyone wants love and sex really badly, and nobody gets it ever. And so they all are like obsessed with it in a way, but they're also scared of it, and that's kind of what my entire staff is, which is that's why we like love pitching on that stuff.
Do you find it difficult to strike the balance between, well, especially this season, like playing up this Danny Mindy thing, but also knowing when to bring in the supporting characters and let them shine? Like, is it do you have to like force yourself to remember, hey, we need to use these people?
To the rest of the cast? Not really. I mean, the romance of the show, I want it to be a flavor in coffee. Like, this coffee is delicious because it has a tiny bit of cinnamon, and that's why like I always come back to it because it has that. But the coffee is like the entire environment of The Office. And we have such a deep bench now. Like, Zosha Rockmore is so funny. Ike Barinholtz is so funny. And each of these people in my mind could have their own show. So especially season 3, I'm excited to find out more about like what are their wants and dreams, and like the way that we expanded Danny's character and Adam Pally's character this last year, doing that with Ike, who is now like a movie star in 3 movies.
I know.
So
With Ike doing this movie with Tina and Amy, will he have a reduced role in front of and behind the scenes?
Well, in front of camera, no,
Okay.
but it means that they're shooting the movie in the time that our pre-production starts with the writers. So sadly, he's left his writing partner, David Stassen, behind.
Okay.
And so Stassen's with us, and Ike is shooting in New York with those guys. But the great thing is that Tina and Amy both come from their own successful shows, so they get that I'm like, we need one of our leads back for when we start shooting, and they totally get it.
Yes.
So,
because is there a character that Ike excels at, like with the voice?
So in the finale, which is called again Danny and Mindy, I felt that Morgan was kind of the scene stealer in that. He's so funny, and he's so. He excels at, I mean, he's great at physical comedy, but he's one of the funniest things about that character, the way Ike plays it, is he's so sensitive to anyone like making fun of him or his status or what his socioeconomic role is in like the group. He's always talking about how little money he has, but he's very quick to forgive, or just forget, and he slights. And I also think it's really funny that the way that Dwight on The Office thought that Michael was like amazing and a genius, and it was very helpful for the show. Like he thinks that Mindy's like a perfect 10 or something, which is so weird.
I loved the scene with the email and like when he discovers that this is all a sham, and then I like when with sent from my smartphone or something,
which I have case charger phone, and he's clearly typing in on it. He loves status and he wants to have be like rich and cool, which is what Mindy likes, and I think it makes his character just so adorable.
Okay, oh wait, do you have a favorite? I asked Chris this as well, but do you have a favorite Danny-ism? We learned so much like of his quirks.
Yes. My favorite Danny-ism is we did this episode called Indian BBW, where his brother was talking about how he's judgmental, and to test him, he's like, "You're right, you're not judgmental, but she's not gonna like it when you don't let her put the heat on." And he's like, "Why do we have to put the heat on? To heat up a drawer of unused sweaters?" Like he's so quick to get mad. Which, if you are a hothead like me, you appreciate seeing them dramatized on television.
Do you have a favorite Mindy characteristic or quirk?
I think that one thing I've noticed on the show is like they're not catchphrases, but I've noticed that my character says a long disclaimer about something, and she's like, "Yes, I was 45 minutes late, and no, I didn't pay for my airfare, and yes, I was obnoxious, and I was rude, and I'm not dressed appropriately for this event, but I am a woman." And you're like, the disclaimer becomes so long that you're like, what is she going to say to exonerate herself?
Right.
And so that kind of entitlement, like a kind of character who is able to see that she's so wrong, but still is like, I still deserve greatness, is so fun to play.
Has anything been pitched like for the Mindy character where you're just like, this is not going to work, or this isn't like her, or is there any glaring one?
Well, we pitch a lot of stuff because so much of the show is about dating and things. So, no, the writers really do know the voice so well in a way that I feel so lucky and amazed because we have a very small staff. But I think a lot of the stuff that we can't do tends to be like the sex stuff. Like it would work better if it was a cable show, and we can't show that because so much of dating is like the sex part of it. So for the past 2 years, we've had to kind of not. But we did shower scenes and stuff, which was great.
The awkwardness is what's so funny. And
wait, they weren't like sexy, wonderful scenes that turn you on? I've never been awkward in my life.
My favorite was like the silk sheets. The silk sheets. Oh my God, that was great.
Oh, Glenn Howerton was so funny in that. He was like he was in quicksand.
Yeah.
That's been really fun too. Is Glenn comes from a show that we love, which is totally different in tone, Always Sunny. And what's fun is that we get to pluck actors who are our buddies from other shows and put them in our environment and let them do something completely different. Right. So Glenn he plays, and he would not be offended by this. His character on Always Sunny is like a sociopath.
Yes.
And he plays like a handsome attorney on our show. So that's fun. And he was great on Fargo and something completely different. So.
Yeah, creepy.
Yeah, total creep.
Well, and I was glad, and I'm not trying to claim ownership of this or putting this idea into your head, but I told you need to get Max Greenfield on there I wanted it to be a crossover.
That's right. You were an early adopter for that Max idea.
And I was sort of glad that it wasn't a crossover, that it wasn't Schmidt here, but like it was a fun way to see him.
He's amazing. And Liz Meriwether was so nice to let us borrow him for a while, and Zoe, and we personally, the cast and the writers have always loved him because Max is a very, he's such a smart actor, and he's very writerly, and he's a writer himself. And so he was great with improv. And weirdly enough, when he came to do the show, he had played love interest with Adam Pally on Happy Endings. And so all of our scenes were together. So we had all kissed each other at some point. So he was so funny on the show.
That's great. Okay, let's take another question. How do you choose which episode to submit for a writing Emmy? Do you consider You've Got Sex? Would you consider that one? That was a great episode.
Thank you. You know, I love that episode, and it was, for me, I was either going to submit You've Got Sex or the finale, Danny and Mindy, and I ended up picking Danny and Mindy because of, honestly, it's because we went to New York, and we shot in New York, and it had more moments. It was maybe a sentimental choice, actually, because there's more moments in there that I'd always dreamed of shooting, and having, you know, Chris doing the catfishing and stuff. But thank you for liking You've Got Sex. It's one of my favorite episodes we've ever done.
The texting on the show is just great in general. I love when Danny texts, like, the LOL and who is this?
Because he's, like, such a lame-o. Yeah, he's the lame-o who doesn't know how to do anything.
Right.
Which is great on a phone.
Right.
And Ellie Kemper was in that episode. Yeah, that was a fun. We used that episode as a template because there's only it's only like our cast, and that's like the Glenn Howerton character and Mindy start to like each other, but like there's no B story in that one, which is kind of interesting. Right. Like everybody's on the same story, which was nice.
Well, and how is it? I mean, you're coming from The Office, and you wanted to create something that was your own and create a different writer's room environment, and we still see the ties of The Office like filter through, like Ellie Kemper and Greg Daniels directed one, and Paul Lieberstein.
Yeah, Paul's directed a couple.
Yeah. So talk about still, and of course BJ. Talk about still having that support system there.
Well, my favorite artists have always been the ones that stick together with their group. You know, whether it's Christopher Guest and his actors who are often in a lot. He seems like they have like a company, or Woody Allen using Diane Wiest and Mia Farrow, and it also just makes the quality of life so much better because my hours are so long. And if I can just pack the scenes in the writer's room with my old friends, first of all, things go faster. And second of all, it's like you get to transition from like work to social life much more easily. Now that said, all of my original friends at The Office, like Mike Schur, he went on to create Brooklyn and Parks, and he's very busy. Paul is running Newsroom. BJ has his second book out, and Greg is, you know, Greg. But it's great when they can just kind of come in and do that. Also, the tone of The Office is just great. I know that it's a mock documentary, and our show is very cinematic and it's very different. But in terms of the types of jokes we write, that is exactly the same, I think.
Well, and you're a multi-hyphenate already, and I don't know if this would even be possible with your schedule, but would you consider directing an episode? Or is that just too difficult?
I have, and I have considered it, and I directed at The Office. The only issue becomes, it's like I'm out of the room so much because I'm acting, and then directing would mean, you know, you're scouting locations and looking at casting and things. And Michael Spiller, who's incredible, Emmy-winning Michael Spiller, is one of our EPs and our resident director. So while I love the idea, because again, it scares me, and I want to direct my own movie one day, I also thought, it's kind of not fair to the crew for me to take myself out of another room where they need answers for something. So maybe if I do one, it'll be towards the end of the season.
You say you want to direct another movie, and I feel like I'm not alone in wondering if you would ever consider writing a feature film rom-com.
Absolutely. I mean, I think about it every day.
Every day?
Yeah. I think that there's something about the way we tell stories on the show, where if I look at the finale, and we were looking at it, and like the plot of it is of a feature-length film, and it was very hard to edit, you know, and we left so much on the cutting room floor. And I thought, you know, that was shooting 5 days, and I just do like the math of it. I'm like, well, a movie is 90 minutes long, and if you have, I think it's about the cast that you pick, keeping it really small with people you have chemistry with. But I always think about it all the time. And there's actors for whom it would be really fun to get stuck with them for 3 weeks doing a romantic comedy with. Like, I'm obsessed with Sam Rockwell. I think he's
that would be good.
And he's so cool. And like, I think I always pick actors whose energy seems really different than me. And I love his movies he's done. So I always think of people that I'd want to work with and kind of work backwards.
Please keep me posted on a premise.
Yes.
I would be interested to know where you set it and stuff.
Absolutely.
We had one of our copy editors downstairs who's also a big fan and is also a big rom-com person, wanted to know what's your guilty pleasure rom-com, where if someone walks in, you're like embarrassed to have them see you watch something.
I sort of believe in that Quentin Tarantino thing of there are no guilty pleasures, there's just pleasures. And I guess it's You've Got Mail, because I think some people,
You said it was divisive among the writers, right?
Yeah, because the writers all, when they look at romantic comedies, like they think of Vicky Cristina Barcelona, The Princess Bride, which a writer, or like more writer, and You've Got Mail for some reason, I think they think is hokey or something. I love it. I know every line. So that's probably the one that's like closest to guilty pleasures, although there's some great jokes in there. Like it's very tightly written script. Of course, it's based on Shop Around the Corner, which is another great romantic comedy.
Yes, but Chris Messina, who has a cameo in that briefly, says he has not sat through it in its entirety yet.
That's ridiculous.
Which I find absurd.
What's the matter with him?
I find that. When I said the bouquet of sharpened pencils, he was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Let's get another question. What is your single favorite thing about the Mindy Project? That's hard.
My single favorite thing? I love, the cast is all, like, we've at this point become very close, and there's a great infectious thing that happens probably like once an episode. Ike Barinholtz and Chris Messina they break like crazy.
Really?
Which is fantastic for me because I used to break like crazy at the office, and now that's not my role anymore.
So you're like, guys, get it together.
Get it together. And to me, nothing is more enjoyable than making those two guys, who I think are so funny, break. And it's obviously time consumptive. But there was we were doing this episode where the characters go to LA, and Ed Weeks' character is telling us like what we can and cannot do. And I was doing this like dance about how excited I was to go to LA, and I was sitting next to Adam Pally, and Ike and Chris were sitting on the other sofa, and they just could not keep it together, and they were just breaking, and Chris started to cry, and then Ike was turning pink, so they had to come and touch him up and everything, and it was so great. It's such a narcissistically fun moment to think that you created that. So I love when actors break, although it takes up a lot of time to get the ball rolling again.
I found it interesting, like before when I was on set before a scene, Chris he gets really I don't know if antsy is the word, but he paces. He paces back and forth like he's nervous or he has to really concentrate on what's about to unfold. Has that sort of loosened up, or is he still like that?
We have such different styles of acting, and he's such an amazing actor, so I try to study it all the time. But I think Chris comes from a style of discomfort when he's acting. I think he likes to be in a kind of discomfort place, and I'm very loose. And he's described that too. I like to be in a place where it's just very loose and relaxed. I find that that's where I'm the funniest. But he's the more high-strung one, I think, intense, and that's I think why it's fun to do. But our characters are kind of not that way. Right, but that's our kind of acting style, which I like.
Well, and you wanted to do this show to sort of grow as an actress, and so talk about being able to do that and being front and center instead of a supporting player.
It was really challenging. 3 years ago, I only had the feeling that I could do it. And then Kevin Riley and Fox were nice enough to be like, yeah, we think you can do it too. But I've learned so much then, and I think I've gotten just a lot better, from doing it so much. But it's challenging, and I have early on, I think you can always become better as an actor, and I really want to learn from other people. And I look at someone like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and she's been so funny in so many different kinds of roles, and I don't know, it's been one of the great challenges. Probably been the single most enjoyable part of the job is going from feeling tentative about something to being I love acting, and I can't wait to just keep doing this for the rest of my life.
Was it hard to get comfortable at first, to always being being in the majority of the scenes, or?
I have to say, because I love the staff so much, and because they're so attuned to finding out what I'm going to score in, that I was nervous at the beginning, but now certainly, or even halfway through the first year, You know, like, of course I was nervous. Oh, God, can I do physical comedy the way that, like, Rain and Steve used to at The Office? And then doing it and being like, oh, I feel like I did it pretty well. And, like, that's been fun. But at the beginning, definitely go to the editing room and it's like, I hope this is okay. I hope I don't, like, look into camera like at The Office. And they're like, yeah. So.
Okay, let's get another question in. Tori wants to know if you could take a character from another show and put them into the Mindy Project world, who would you choose?
What a great question.
Yes.
Tori, I love that question. Okay. Jonah from Veep.
Oh.
Who is so funny. We love Tim Simons. And Daryl from The Walking Dead.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know how he would fit into the world.
I love this. You have to find a way.
He feels like he would do it. A friend of Morgan's or something. Yeah. It's gross how quickly I answered that question.
I was going to say, like, have you thought about this? Because they did come real easily.
So what if the screen on my phone is Daryl with his shirt off?
Is it really?
No.
Oh, okay.
He never has his shirt off. He never has his shirt off. He always has his arms, his shirt's cut off. So.
That's amazing.
I love Walking Dead. We are big Walking Dead fans in my room. Well, I guess the whole world is fans of Walking Dead. Yeah.
How about you've opened the writers' room, but is there a name attached to this season 3 premiere yet? Is there a title?
The name of it? Right now it's called Danny's Secret.
Okay.
That could change.
Okay.
But it is so funny, and there's so many fun twists and turns in it. I can't wait for people to see it. I say that about every episode, but this one is particularly packed with, like, incident and things.
Okay. There's no puppies, right?
There's no puppies. No, I got my Harvard, so I spoke at the Harvard Law School class day speech. And I, as a joke, was comparing what my body of work to this Preet Bharara, who is this incredible Harvard grad and attorney and prosecutor. And I was comparing what he did to, like, and Mindy might get a puppy next season. And it was like, what?
I know.
Spoiler.
People went crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and how do you feel about it being a 15-episode season? Is that better? Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think that I think it's a couple things. One is it's 15 episodes for now, so we might get some more, which would be great. But it's also exciting because, you know, when you do a network show, you can't help but feel a little envious of your friends who do cable shows because there's such a finite amount of episodes that people watch them in order and closer to real time. Whereas I feel this way, like if I have a show I like a network, I know it's just going to be on.
Right.
So I get used to it like an old shoe. I'm like, you'll always be there puttering away. So what's fun about that is to be able to sit and plan 15 episodes or 18 or even 22 if we should get that, which would be great. To be able to look at 15, it's such a small amount that we can do in a whole arc and have it end, you know. At The Office, we would get like 26, 27 episodes, and you're like, okay, that's like, you have to cut that into little like pieces of the season. And it's hard to have like a cohesive feeling that you had a vision for the whole season. Whereas Mad Men or Veep, it's like about an election the whole season. And so both are great outcomes. I'm used to the schedule of doing something long, so I'd be ready to do it. And I love those guys and love working with them, but a shorter one would be fun in a different way.
Well, when you get the news that Kevin Riley is exiting, like, and he's been such a supporter of the show, like, does it make you worried, nervous, or are you sort of like...
It makes me sad because I love Kevin so much, and he's been such a champion of the show. But Kevin, I always used to talk about because he was the most public figure there, but the great thing about Fox is it's full of people who love the show and are, more than I've ever had in my career, real collaborators with us, like Joe Early, Susanna Makos, Laura Neustadter, who is our day-to-day exec, and they're fans of the show, and they are, in their own way, like, always thinking of cool new things for the show in a way that, like, our writers are often, like this is just Joe's idea for the season, and so we feel like we still have a really great family there. So I'll just have to, like, vacation with Kevin to see him. Kevin, call me.
Call Mindy. And I don't mean to beat a dead horse here, but diversity has become like a thing with this show, the topic of, you know, contention. But I'm more interested in knowing how you feel about that in terms of, like, having to address it and justify your decisions. Has it been...
You know, it's so important to me, so I feel like a lot of times when I talk about it that I get really, like, passionate about it. And I ultimately take it as a compliment because I just get held up to a higher standard because there's a sense that if anyone should be doing it right, it should be me. And that's makes sense, and I actually like that about that. I like that people have a higher expectation to me than other shows. I think we can always be doing better. And you know, we sometimes what people don't see behind the scenes is like we want to get Kevin Hart on the show or Dule, and they can't do it because of scheduling, and people don't know that because we don't advertise it. But it's I love our cast. I think Zosha is so funny and so great. I think 2 dark-skinned women of color as series regulars in a show, one of whom is the lead, is I feel really proud of that. And that said, it's like we are always trying to do better.
Let's get some more fan questions in.
How do you stay so down to earth and gorgeous at the same time? It's challenging. I feel that by doing charity work and volunteering, I can make a small difference. So what's the next question?
Chrissy asked whether you have trouble balancing what you want for these characters that you created and love, and what would work best in the show.
That's a involves question.
Yeah.
Hold on. The first part of it is
how do you balance what you want for these characters and what would work best for the show?
Got it. Well, it's a challenge because it's a 21.5-minute show and there's 6 characters on it. I was a little used to it because there's so many characters on The Office, and so what ends up happening is you have to like kind of take turns.
Right.
Like, and it's fun because you have, if you think of all the different characters in the show as like a little like Monopoly piece, you're like, okay, well these 2 were together. And that's been working and really funny. So now let's see what it's like when we put Adam Pally and Ike together, or me with Adam Pally. And on a really good show, you can do that, and it all works out great. And we usually have an A story and a B story. But that said, every episode, it's hard to get in all the funniness of the show. And one of the things I like about it is that we are having to do these really painful things in editing where we cut jokes, which to me means that the show is really funny. Because if you are painfully having to, and it feels like cutting a limb when you cut a really funny joke. So that's part of the process too.
And
so
that's
it's hard
when
to
you put it on the DVD.
That's when we put it on the DVD.
Please.
Yes.
We have another question. Oh wait, do you have a favorite Mindy pairing? Like, do you like seeing her play against somebody?
You know what pairing I've really been liking? I mean, obviously I love working with all of the characters, but it's so fun when I do scenes with Zosha. Because I think the dynamic that Mindy has with Tamara is, first of all, Zosha's like a beautiful model.
Yeah, yes.
And I think that she's young and she's beautiful. And so I think I like when Mindy says stuff like, we're both like young, adolescent, sexy girls. And Tamara's like,
we're the same.
She's like, I'm 15 years younger than you. I don't know what you're talking about. But it's fun when she's the object of Mindy's like, oh, I wish I was like her, or like you and me and Beyonce are exactly the same. And so I'm really looking forward to doing more stuff with her.
Cool. We have another question from Dandy Lioness.
Great name. Yeah.
Can we see more Danny dancing in season 3? And I have to say, I try to get him dancing at Paley Fest.
Yeah.
I put on the music and nothing happens. He said he got stage fright, but would we see more?
Yes. The thing about Chris dancing is it's such a, God, I don't know, it's just like, it's so powerful that
a good word for it. Yeah.
It's just it's so powerful that it's like I feel like we need to keep it locked up in a little bottle and like not use too much of it. Otherwise, we just become like the Christmasina dance show, which I know many people would like.
That would be a great spinoff. Yeah.
I can say that there's that if you that there's some dancing.
Okay.
We'll get to see his moves, I guess, is what I can say.
Okay. And lastly, you're going to do a follow-up, right? Another book?
Yes.
Yes. Can you give us, people are wondering if it'll be the same format, like essays, and what sort of the topic?
So much has happened to me between, because I wouldn't necessarily have thought, write another book so recently after the other one, but so much has happened between the time I published my first book and now. The show, my mother passed away, so many of my friends have gotten married, I'm a godmother now, and a homeowner. Like there's so much that has happened in that period of time that I wanted to write another book because I can only fit so much into the show, and I have all this extra stuff, and I love writing in that format. It's very different than writing dialogue, and so and we just came up with a title which was Why Not Me?
Oh, cool.
Which has kind of been my subconscious motto for like my whole life. And I'm really, really excited about it.
That's a good title because the last one was good. I was going to say coming up with something to follow up that.
Oh, well, thank you. So I'm excited. We're going to do the cover shoot soon. And so I'm really excited about that. It's also a time where like in interviews or on the show, people can get a sense of what you're like. But what's great about a book is you can just, there's no way to construe it differently, and you can answer questions that people ask about, like things about the writer's room or race on the show, or
Just,
like my L cover, or things that people, body image stuff that people have questions about. I can actually finally say in the most eloquent way what my feelings were about it. So.
And is it easy to find time to attend to it? No.
No, it's not easy to find time, but my assistant Sonia is very good about being like, 6 to 9 a.m. you're supposed to write on your book. And I'm like, no, Sonia, don't make me.
Thanks, Sonia, for being on top of it. Well, those are my questions, Mindy. Thank you very much.
I don't want to leave. Let's ask questions. Let's answer more questions.
Really?
R-rated questions.
Let's get one more. Who would win in a fight? Veeps, Selena Meyer, or Mindy Lahiri?
Wow, both would probably fight dirty, right? Think about. I'll say Selena Meyer, and I'll tell you why. Julia Louis-Dreyfus's body is insane.
Oh my God, that Rolling Stone cover?
Insane.
And
she looks toned. Yeah. She's not just like skinny. Her ass looks toned. You can quote me on that. Sorry, Julia. It's true. And so I think she could kill me because I don't have a single muscle in my entire body. Now, Jonah versus Morgan.
Oh,
Morgan would take Jonah down.
Yeah,
I think.
He would.
Reed Scott versus Chris Messina. Anyway, we could do this for a long time.
Let's get one more in then. And this is one, I mean, the Bridget Jones diary scene, amazing.
Oh.
You said you had images of things you wanted, like Messina reading Bridget Jones with an accent. What are other images you have in your mind that you want to see carried out?
Let's see. Well, I don't want to spoil them because I want people to see them for the first time. But there's some stuff in the finale that there's some images when we were in New York where Chris was showing me the Brooklyn Promenade and showing me the sunset. And then when we were there, it was like magical. And that was Bella Bajaria, who was the one who took our show from NBC to Fox and has been supportive both emotionally but also financially. It's so rare that someone take a show that's not like an Office type show where it's like a huge hit and tons of money and does that. So Bella sending us to New York to shoot that was a dream. And then I just got to see it. Like Chris was gesturing and we got it. Michael Spiller shot it right at dusk. And so and I thought,
the Bridget Jones scene though, that was great. And Chris said that's like one of his favorites.
Oh, he's so cute in accent. And Spiller, again, like he pulled out so slowly through the door, which I had never imagined. And that was a dream.
And the glasses.
Yeah, and Bill Hader, I've always wanted to work with Bill Hader. Like,
great.
He's one of the great guest stars, and Tim Oliphant, who we loved, and I got on The Office. Like, those things, like those are things that I had in my mind. Like, oh man, I wonder if I'll live long enough to be able to work with like Franco and Hader and Chloe Sevigny, and that the show has afforded all of that. I know there's not strictly the moments that she was talking about, but those are things that I can't believe that I get to do.
Well, and there's more to come next season.
Yes, so much good stuff. So many good stories, and Danny and Mindy together and what that looks like is great. It's just been so enjoyable to break in the room.
Was that hard to go there? Because, with New Girl, people were like, this doesn't work. And did you feel pressure? And you're coming off of Jim and Pam, and these are totally different characters. They're not like perfect. They're very flawed.
It doesn't feel hard. It felt natural. And I have to say, like, when I look at shows that I love, like I Love Lucy or even Modern Family, which are just about functional couples, and it's not, are they going to break up? Danny and Mindy, like, if we just commit to the fact that they kind of love each other but are so different, like, I believe that there is good drama and great romantic stuff that can happen with married couples, and a lot of times we don't allow married couples to be romantic and funny, and they have such a far road ahead of them, and Mindy has so much trouble to get Danny into for so many years that I'm not worried about it.
Very cool. Well, we're excited. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, fans, for sending in some questions. If you want to watch more of our chats, head over to latimes.com. Thanks, guys.
Peace.